Into the Gloom is an indie first-person horror game developed by a guy named Emmanuel Ramos, and it tells the story of a character stuck in a black and white pixelated nightmare, where they're running for their life from a red-eyed apparition and searching for answers to their whereabouts. Now, this was released a while back on Desura, and it's now available on Steam for the paltry price of $3, and it is without a doubt one of the spookiest games I've played in a long time. Like all good horror games, you start off in an abandoned hospital with no clue to how you got there, and find the environment littered with corpses, hanging from the ceilings no less. The world of Into the Gloom is a dark and mysterious one where you're constantly moving through industrial and urban environments, solving basic puzzles and finding cryptic messages left behind that shed ambiguous light on all of the murders that you come across. Messages are scrawled on walls with blood, and spectres pop up on the screen for a brief second at random, offering up unexpected jump scares that will require a change of pants. This is definitely a scary game. It runs on the Unity engine, and though we've seen the whole pixelated thing done to death, Into the Gloom somehow still manages to pull it all off and be a surprisingly frightening experience. There is practically no textures at all, most surfaces are a flat white or grey colour, and the only real variety is the sky, which is always an eerie blood red. Your view distance is narrow as well, which really heightens that fear of the unknown. The sound plays a big part in this. It's just stellar across the board, with some really bizarre and unsettling soundscapes playing during certain moments, particularly when you're being chased by the creepy looking shadow, which is the red-eyed creature that appears at a few points in the game. All you can do at this point is just run for your life, hoping you can navigate the area to escape before it catches up with you. It's a shame there's no other enemies to speak of. In fact, there's not really any threat at all. You're pretty much free to go around solving puzzles without fear of reprieve. The only thing you'll suffer from is those random ghosts popping up on the screen every now and then, which really serve as the only jump scares in the game. But this is more just to enforce the horror atmosphere, and they don't have any negative effect on you in-game. Just on your girlfriend in the next room in real life, who cracks the shits because you keep screaming like a little bitch. Into the Gloom does require a bit of puzzle solving, most of which should be pretty obvious. You'll find items in the game world which you then use on certain elements, like a key for a locked door as an example. Some items also need to be combined to create something else, which is pretty stock standard for most horror games. Anyone who's played Silent Hill or Resident Evil will know how this kind of thing works. Overall, nothing is really going to be too mind-boggling, and the ones I did get stuck on, the solution became really obvious to me after like 5 or 10 minutes of being stumped. Or it might have just boiled down to me not exploring the environment closely enough, glossing over an important item because I simply bypassed it, or because it sort of blended in with everything else. All up, Into the Gloom took me just under 2 hours to get through, but I ended up getting the so-called bad ending, of which there are 5 in total, so there's definitely replayability there if you want to go back and see all the game has to offer. Which is something I ultimately would recommend. For its price tag, this is definitely worth checking out. There's not too many games that nail the horror atmosphere so well. That's something that most AAA titles struggle at, and yet Into the Gloom pulls it off almost constantly and effortlessly. I'm not ashamed, I had a bit of trouble getting to sleep the night I was playing through this, and I did consider sleeping with the light on at one point. Yeah, it creeped me out a fair bit. This definitely falls into the let's play bait category, so my advice is to ignore all those people playing through it on YouTube and check it out for yourself. As a horror and a simple puzzle game, it more than succeeds in that regard. Sure, it's not a masterpiece and it doesn't really offer up anything all that new, but if you've got a spare evening and just want to sit down and solve some puzzles and have the shit scared out of you, then look no further.